Start with a soft, reflective tone, perhaps over a visual of a young, lonely child looking out a window. You know, people often say that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But when you're a kid, and the world has already taken everything from you, strong is the last thing you feel. All you feel is loss. That was my world. A world without a mom's hug or a dad's hand to hold. Just the cold, echoing silence of an orphanage and a question that haunted my dreams. Why? Why me? While other kids were learning to ride bikes, I was learning to be invisible. While they were getting bedtime stories, I was telling myself one. A story where my parents were heroes on a secret mission, and one day, they'd come back for me. That story was my only shield against the pitying looks and the whispered words. It was my fuel, so I started to fight. Not with my fists, but with my mind. I devoured books. I studied until my eyes burned. Every A on a report card wasn't just a grade. It was a step closer to a life where I wouldn't be invisible anymore. It was my way of shouting into the void, I'm still here, I matter. I promised myself I would build a life so successful, so loud, that my parents, wherever they were, couldn't possibly miss it. Years blurred into a montage of sleepless nights, instant noodles, and relentless ambition. I went from a scholarship kid to a junior associate, then a manager, and then it happened. I became the CEO of my own tech company. I had the corner office, the fancy car, the life I had dreamed of. I had built an empire from the rubble of my childhood. But every night when the city lights twinkled below my skyscraper window, the silence returned. It was a different kind of silence now, filled with the clinking of ice in a glass instead of the creaking of orphanage floors. But it was just as lonely. The question why had been replaced by where. Where were they? I hired the best private investigators money could buy. For years, they found nothing. Dead ends at false leads. It was like I was chasing ghosts. One day, my company launched a philanthropic initiative to support rural communities. I insisted on visiting one of the farm projects myself, a remote place far from the city's noise. As I walked through the fields, a strange sense of peace washed over me. The air smelled of soil and life. And then I saw them. An older couple, their faces etched with lines of hardship and sun, working the land with a quiet dignity. The woman looked up, and for a split second our eyes met. In her gaze I saw a ghost of my own reflection. The man, his back bent from years of labor, had hands that, even from a distance, looked strong and familiar. My heart hammered against my ribs. This couldn't be. My parents were heroes, weren't they, on a secret mission? My investigators had said. I walked closer, my expensive leather shoes sinking into the soft earth. I asked them their names, and as they spoke, the world stopped turning. The story I had told myself for 30 years shattered into a million pieces. They hadn't left on a mission. They had been trapped by poverty. So desperate they believed giving me up was my only chance at a real life. They had left me at the orphanage with a broken heart, hoping I'd find a world better than the one they could offer. All these years, while I was building an empire to find them, they were right here, toiling under the same sun, loving me from a distance they thought was permanent. I looked at my polished shoes, then at their calloused, soil-stained hands. And in that moment, I realized my entire life had been a journey not to an office on the top floor, but back to this patch of dirt, back to them. My empire wasn't built of glass and steel. It was built on a foundation of their sacrifice. And finally, I was home.